Welcome to yet another episode of Fafanua Africa. This is a youth-based, conversational and enlightening show where in less than 60 minutes, we'll take you through the topical, the trending issues across Africa that affect the youth and possibly prefer solutions to the challenges that the youth face in their everyday lives. Now, this is the second part of the marriage and relationship series that we started unintentionally last week because the conversation was heated. If you've been following us, then you know that last week was a very interesting conversation and we decided to make it a two-part series, and here we are. Well, if you were following, you would understand that we're talking about marriage and relationship and every challenge and problems in between. So this is just to remind you that last week we said placing youth and marriage side by side is always a very interesting conversation. Now, whether we're talking about age, we're talking about readiness, ideology, you name it, the youth and marriage is a complex and multi-faceted topic. Now, while studies have shown that people are tending to delay marriage until later in life, there's still many young people who choose to get married at a relatively young age. But sometimes the pressure that comes from family, from friends, society, or social media makes it even harder. And these are the things that we talked about last week. We also said that readiness for marriage involves emotional, psychological, and physical maturity. And I remember Alright saying that you must have a picture of what you want before you dabble into it. And it also involves financial stability, which we'll be talking more about this time around, and a commitment to working through difficulties and conflict in a healthy way. Now, it's important for the young people to have a solid understanding of themselves, understanding of their partners and their expectations for the relationship before they embark on marriage. My name is Blessings Mosogu, and of course I am your delectable host on the show today. So sit tight and let's take you through 1 hour of bliss. Now, statistics indicate that marriage, particularly in recent years, has considerably decreased. And in contrary, marriage age, especially in big cities and places nearer to civilization, has increased, so that youth marry at ages when enthusiasm and vivacity has nearly faded, and the prime time of marriage has also ended. Of course, this is caused by various factors, and the most important or the most prominent that we know are extended period of education, possibility of illegal relations, unavailability of needs of life, especially money as desired, and heavy expenditures for marriage. And there's also distrust between young boys and girls. But at the end of the day, you find a lot of persons repeating one statement: do what works for you. Now, the question is, should that be the case, or should we go back to the drawing board when people were marrying at young ages and then, they were almost the same age? I mean, of course, it's impossible, but they're dragging age with their children and, having great-grandchildren even while they're still alive, which is a very beautiful thing. So the question that begs for answers is, should it always be the case of do what works for you, or there is a norm that should be followed in marriage? Now, I would like to introduce my guests. We have two of them who were with us last week. Unfortunately, Wemimo could not join us, and she definitely will be replaced by one other very, very important person in our midst. So joining us on the conversation today, I have the honor of introducing, first of all, we have Earl Alright. I remember your name giving me issues last week because I like to say Alright on a normal. So it was always Alright. So, all right. Thank you for joining us. Earl Alright is a marriage therapist and a family lawyer. Thank you so much for joining us. Also, we have the one with the radiant smile, Esther Solarin, a marriage and relationship counselor. Esther was with me in the studio the last time, but unfortunately, how the tables have turned. But thank you, Esther, for joining us. All joined on at the same. Thank you for being here with us. And last but not the least, we have a dating and marriage coach. I remember last week I was saying that I was joined by experts, so I cannot even mistakenly miss Yan, and this time it's the same thing. So we have a dating and marriage coach in the house who is Joy Nwokoro. She's also a counselor and keynote speaker. Please make welcome Joy. Thank you. Thank you, Joy, for joining us. So Joy will be taking the spot of Wemimo, who is a media communications and strategy consultant, who also gave her opinions on the matter last week. And it really was an interesting conversation if you were following. But anyways, this is the second part of the marriage and relationship talk, and we will not overflog the introduction. I mean, you already know my formidable forces. So let's just go straight into the conversation. And like I said, it's still a marriage and relationship. So we're not just focusing on marriage, it's also relationship. So I would like to start off by asking, and this question goes to all three of you. So we'll just take it each person at a time. Now, the question is, why exactly do people even get married? That's one. And what do the new generation think that marriages are or relationships are? So why marriage? And then what comes to the new generation's mind when they hear marriage? So let's start with Alright.
Thank you so much for starting with me. I was expecting that you start with other people so that I can hear their opinion and build on it.
No, I chose to start with you this time.
That's practical.
I won't give you time to gather your arsenal. Yeah, we'll start with you.
Okay, now if we look at it and we're looking at marriage, then we're looking at it as, I want to look at it as a social cultural behavior, right? We know that marriage meets a lot of needs in life of an individual, and so if I want to look at it from the individualistic perspective, I'm looking at it that the purpose of marriage is for companionship, is to have sexual fulfillment and satisfaction in one person, and it is for partnership in the achievement of life goals. Now, that is from the individualistic perspective, but if you look at it from the community perspective, it becomes another breakout unit, right? Marriage becomes another breakout.
Okay, all right. Apologies for that. I just got feedback from the monitors now, and they said that your audio, the earpiece, is interrupting the audio. So if you can take out the earpiece so we can hear you clearly. Okay, while we wait for Alright to do that, let me just direct the question at Esther. We'll come back to Alright. He was already given his point, but Esther, please go ahead.
Okay, so why marriages, right? He has actually already answered the question, and it's very simple. Primarily for companionship. I mean, you don't want to do life alone. You want to have someone who is equally invested in your life, equally committed to you, ready to go the journey with you, ready to stand by you, stand for you, stand with you, stand. Any definition of stand you want to give to it, really. You know, just stand. So you have that, and also you have it for procreation or sexual fulfillment, like he said, or even sexual pleasure. Yeah, so we are saying instead of going outside, you have one person that is with you for the rest of your life, and you guys can do and undo till your teeth fall off, basically. Okay, why else do people get married? They get married because they have a purpose. They are driving together as a union for partnership, for them to achieve major goals together. Let's face it, we work better as a team than we would do alone. So people get married for these reasons, and people also have very selfish reasons for getting married. It's important to state that, yeah, people get married for selfish reasons. They get married because they want to now be known as Mrs. This or Mr. This. They get married because, oh, this person is boxed up and it's not a bad idea to be married to someone. You know, they get married because society has said we should get married. And then they get into the marriage institution and realize that it is not a walk in the park like they thought. And there the conflicts begin.
Esther, you really explained it like it was a movie. I was so interested to know what happened after. Then I remember that I asked the question. It's not a movie. But anyways, before we come to Joy, do we have Alright? Okay, we don't have him yet. So I'll just toss the coin to Joy. What do you have to say about it?
Okay, so thank you. So typically, human beings don't do well alone. You know, just like Esther said, I'd like to go back to the Bible, you know, the best books. It says that man should not live alone, you know. I mean, I'm trying paraphrasing it now. In the book of Genesis, it says when God made Adam, you know, he thought about the importance of him not carrying the whole load alone. And then he thought about a helpmeet for him. So I'm talking about why important marriage is. Marriage is very important because human beings don't do well alone, you know, as people. Yes, we know some school of thoughts that would say it doesn't matter if you journey life alone and all, you can actually be isolated and do well in life. I am not disputing that. But typically when man and woman, come together to say, okay, let's begin to journey life together and, forge ahead in life, many times things, balance up, both ways. Coming to the fact also concerning why, coming to the negative part right now, or on the flip side, why man and woman come together to do marriage, you would find that parental pressure also comes to play when your parents think that as a youth, you have done primary school, you've gone through secondary, they have trained you through the university, and in most cases, you've done your master's, and then there you are still single. Many times there's pressure from mommy, from daddy, from that uncle, that aunt. So typically looking at it, you'd find out that marriage in Africa, coming to Africa really, marriage is very important to us because we think man shouldn't do life alone.
When Joy was saying man shouldn't do life alone, I was going to ask, so does it mean I can just get a roommate of the same gender? Does that work? Because, it's basically the same thing, or is it not?
It doesn't work that way, really. There are a whole lot of preparation and things we must look at when you're saying, I want to pick you as my husband, or I want to pick you as my wife.
Okay, well, having said that, I don't know if we have All Right yet. All Right, are you there?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Like I was saying, that is from an individual perspective. So there are people who want to get married because they are lonely for companionship and because they want sexual satisfaction. And I usually say this to many people who are out there: if you remove sexual pleasure from it, many of them will not have gotten married. So there's a big possibility that one of the reasons why we get married is because we want to have that ability to have the opportunity to share our sexual experiences with one person. That's from the individualistic perspective. If you look at it from the community perspective, the social cultural perspective, another purpose why people marry is to expand, right, and to advance their community, because the marriage, a marriage then becomes the breakout unit through which communities expand, through which our social interactions expand. So these are more of the reasons. So many times it could be from your own perspective, in the sense that, I want to get married because I'm lonely, or because I want to have someone to share my life with, the partnership part, or I want someone to be able to have unlimited sexual experiences, which is sexual pleasure. Or on the other hand, it is family and it is community putting pressure on you to say, we want you to get married because we want you to expand and we want you to enlarge and we want you to advance our community.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you so much for that. All right. Now, all three of you have given your ideas of why people get married, and this is going to set a base for our conversation today. But before we go further, we're definitely going to take a look at what youths have to say about the concept of marriage and relationship. Of course, it's a youth-based show, and it's it's a Pan-African program. So we'll check out what the youths across Africa have to say about marriage, and we'll be right back to talk about it.
So my question is, do you think those who marry early are prone to divorce? Well, yes. My answer is yes. And that's because I feel like you haven't gathered enough experiences for you to decide if your partner is right for you. There are some things you need to go through in life. There's some decisions you have to make alone before you push through with marriage. You get? So I think marrying early can make the marriage prone to divorce. Yeah, that's what I think.
So, marriage is a personal thing. It's about individual readiness, your commitment. Are you ready for it? Whether you're 20, you're 30, you're 50. Even at old age, I think people get married, people marry and remarry. It's about individuals' readiness. And if you have someone you think is suitable for you, someone you think you love. And for me, I think marriage is about love. Whether you are 20 or 30, do you love this person? Are you ready to spend your your lifetime with this person, because for some persons marriage is a lifetime, while for some other people marriage is for a period of time. It depends on are you people compatible? Can you live together? Do you love this person? Do you think this can be your life partner? This person can be your friend. So it's not about age. There's no age tag to marriage. The question is, are you ready for it? And whenever you're ready for it, I think you should just go for it. But again, ensure you are getting married to the person you like, the person you're ready to spend the rest of your life with.
So on the topic of early marriage, I feel it's a good thing as it gives the young husband and wife a sense of direction and responsibility very early in life. It also gives them time to raise their kids and train them in ways they want in very good time. Yeah, so it's a good thing and I feel it should be encouraged.
Um, Actually, there is no right time for marriage. The right time for marriage is when both the man and the woman are ready to live and live, meaning when they are ready to leave their parents and settle down together as man and wife. According to the Bible, in Ephesians 5 verse 31, it's stated there. So it's when the when both parties are ready, fully ready, both emotionally, spiritually, financially, in all areas. Once they are ready to um, live and cleave, then that is the right time for marriage. And when once God is involved, then it's definitely the right time. So there is no particular time, there is no right time or right age.
You have to be emotionally ready and money financially ready. Person no get money no suppose dey trick hand for love. You have to be financially ready because money will be like the backbone of a relationship. Like the backbone of a relationship. Love could only like take you so far. Love could only take you so far. Money would like no man, money is that boost. You compare normal love to baby, I'm missing it. Two of them are the same thing.
Well, those were the opinions of the youth across Africa regarding the issue of marriage especially, but also relationship. Now, one of the things the last speaker said is one of my questions, one of the things I would have wanted us to discuss. And since he had mentioned it, I'll just bring it to the forefront. Now, he said, in his words, person wey no get money no suppose marry, or I don't know how he said it, but something like that. And that really is the idea that a lot of people have, that if you don't have money, if you're not boxed up enough, you don't have any business falling in love or getting married. So I would like for us to discuss it now with my panel of judges, of course. So I want to hear your opinions about that. I'll start with Esther. What do you think about that statement?
If you don't get money, no marry you.
Okay, but don't forget, we're also talking about it from the angle of marriage and relationship.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, the point is this: you need money. See, love is sweet, but see, when you not add money to the love, it's sweet.
Okay.
Like there is a whole lot you need money for. Just being in a relationship takes a lot, from phone calls to going out, eating out, and all of that, even to gifts. But this is where I have a problem. The idea of money that people think they need to have is sometimes, permit me to use the word unrealistic. Unrealistic is not the actual word, because again, it depends on the standard of living you want to have for yourself. Yeah, there are some people that will tell you that I am not going to get married until I have a house of my own, a car of my own, until I am able to maybe have 10 million naira in my account and all of that. And then you look at it and you're saying, so you are 30. How much are you earning? You are probably earning 150K. And they are saying you are not going to marry till you have all of these things. And when you say you want to marry, I want to marry the next 2 years. How realistic is that? Do you get? So reality is that money plays a huge role. As a matter of fact, I can say more than 50% of the conversation you have in marriages especially revolves around money one way or the other. You are talking about, oh, we need to move to a new apartment, money is involved. Oh, we need to get diaper for our daughter, money is involved. Oh, every single thing just has a way of bringing money into the conversation. But you see, it's also not just about earning the money. It is more about the mindsets attached to you in terms of money, in terms of finance. Like when you think of money, what comes to your mind? There are some people that all they think of is, oh, I just want to blow. When I blow, I will hammer. But then they blow and a different dimension of themselves evolves. And then you begin to see that these guys can blow 10 million naira in one day. These guys don't even know how to save. These guys they don't even know anything about investment. These guys don't even know how to spend on themselves. So it is a lot. Beyond you wanting to earn, the question is, what is your mindset regarding money? And even as you're in a relationship with someone, these are the conversations you should be having. You should be asking these questions. So how do you behave when you have money? How do you behave when you don't have money? These are things you should be observing. So you see someone, the person is depressed and sad and angry, and you're like, okay, they've not paid your salary. Okay, that should give you an idea of what you are getting into. So even if the person is earning 1 million naira per month, if the person has this idea that money defines me, money is my identity, you will struggle with that 1 million naira. Right. However, there is someone out there married to another person and their joint income is probably just 300,000 naira. Yet they have a good marriage. Yet they are happy, they are in love, they are raising their children, and they are wondering, but money is supposed to be an issue, isn't it? Money is supposed to be the defining factor of your happiness, isn't it? But with this type of circumstance, you realize that it's not money. Money is not what defines whether you are happy or not. Right. It is your mindset towards it and the way you choose to handle money. You either make it a priority such that it defines your marriage, or sorry, I lost the line of thought, but it gets deep.
I like that you actually were able to categorize it, that it's not, there's small money and then there's big money. There's the money that is unrealistic. But before I go further, I'll just like to remind us that this is a conversational show. So feel free, if you see the need to interrupt, I'm here to moderate, so don't play it safe. It's fine. It's fine. And then I would also like for us to still talking about the issue of money, having money and needing money and all that. Now, a very successful, I don't know how successful she is, but based on social media standards, she is successful. She's an actor, a Nigerian actor, and she once said that she cannot marry a man that does not have his own house. Now, by his own house, she means built from the scratch. She's not talking about rent. She's not talking about her father's house. She's talking about building his own house. And she was saying it because she feels, I don't think she has her own house, but she's saying that she's successful enough to deserve such a man. So, I mean, what do we make of that? That just reminds me of what Esther just said. And I think that also falls into that context, because some people have unrealistic demands, right? It's good to have money, right? But there's a way that especially the ladies now pressure the men into needing millions of naira before. Let's say you just want to go to an eatery. You cannot just go to this, I don't want to call any name, but you can't go to the normal one where they just give you styrofoam and you eat. It has to be somewhere you can take pictures and post on social media, and all that. So what do we think of those kind of standards? Joy, do you want to go?
Okay, so many times people think money is the standard. Yes, money answers all things. Money is very important. However, a lot of youths actually mistake, they kind of mistake the fact that when you have money means, you are focused. We have to draw a line, really, for us to be able to get it right, especially with sensitizing the youths. So yes, money is very important. However, anybody can have money regardless of what they do to get that money. And then, are you looking or aiming towards such a relationship because there's just money, this person is liquid, that guy is liquid, without understanding or wanting to know if indeed this guy is focused? There are a lot of people who aren't focused out there who have loads of money. They are so liquid, they have a lot to throw around, and then you now realize that it's the short-term goal. A lot of youths are going for the short-term satisfaction. So she's boxed up or he's boxed up. I'm saying she because there are guys, also, who would want to do anything to date a lady who has the money to throw around. they have nothing doing. There are ladies also who would want to, do anything to marry a guy or date a guy who has all the money in this world. So it's very important that we draw a line and define really what money is, and concerning how people measure the people they want to get married to, if they are looking to get married. For instance, the scenario you just painted right now, Blessing, about the lady saying he has to build a house from the scratch. Typically, I think it is important that when you look at money as it concerns, okay, wanting to start life with a person, you're looking at, okay, does this guy have something that brings in money, say monthly? Does he have something that he makes a living from? And can he feed one or two more mouths? So take for instance, I'm a bachelor, I have something doing. I may not have all the money in the world, but I have some extra to feed my wife, my would-be wife, and perhaps when baby begins to come. That is what we should be looking at here. But many times we look at it from the angle of, he has to have a car, and that car doesn't have to be, shouldn't be rickety. It doesn't have to be the jalopy kind of car. He has to drive an SUV and all of that. And people, put the cart before the horse and eventually, hit the brick wall. Because money does not define any relationship. Yes, it's important. They say romance without finance, doesn't do well. You have to have some extra cash to throw about and all that. But besides the extra cash, having the extra cash to throw around, what happens therefrom? These are things we really should look at when we're looking at such an issue as money in a relationship.
By the way, I'm just saying that for the first time. Romance without finance. I've never heard that before. But anyways, all right, do you want to butt in?
Yes, I like the way the question has been approached, and I want to bring it from another perspective, right? So I want to look at it from the same from the same picture, but from another perspective. And this is what I want to ask: right, how old are you? Because we get to lie to ourselves a lot that biological clock does not matter, but it does. Whether you are male or you are female, whether you're a man or you're a woman. Do you want to, at the age of 50 years, still be doing school run for primary school children?
But isn't that optional? Isn't that? Yeah. If I decide to want to do that at 50,
we need to understand that. We need to understand that you must see it as life. By the time I'm 55 years old, by the time I'm 60 years old, how old will be my children? Where will my children be in life? If you have that mindset, it will guide you on when to start your journey. So the question I want to ask you is, how old are you right now? Right? Because, for example, if you are a lady, accept it or not, the older you get, the lesser your options. If you are a guy, the older you get, the more confused you are because you are not having more options. So you now have a problem of choosing because you are not having more options. Number two question you should ask yourself is, are you able to feed yourself right now and pay your house rents? Are you able to take care of yourself right now? Like Esther said, if you want to be any 500,000, 1 million a month, 2 million a month before you get married. And right now you are 28 years old and you are seeing 150,000. What are you doing to be able to achieve 2 million? And when will you be able to do it with the way your life has been progressing? If you pay attention to the way your life has been progressing, just use that standard, use that speed, and ask yourself the question, when will I hit 2 million a month? Number three is the fact that if right now you're earning 70K, depending on where you live, you're earning 150, you're earning 200, you're earning 300, you're even earning the minimum wage of 30,000 naira. Because let's see, there are some people who are watching this show and they are earning only 20,000 naira. And so people are earning only 15,000 naira and they are watching us right now. So let's not even mention 150,000 naira. That is so far. If not, the poor will never get married. The middle class will never get married. The average people will never get married. Only the rich will get married if we are only looking at the hundreds of thousands. Because there are some people who are going to retire from civil service and their salary will not get to 100K. I used to say they will never get married. So the question I'm going to say right now is, for you, look at yourself. With the finances I'm having right now, am I able to run my life effectively? If you are able to run your life effectively while trying to grow your finances, grow the totality of your life. Growing the totality of your life means get married. If he's also earning, it means you have another money to add to your own in partnership. Right? You guys are struggling. When you were singles, you were struggling. So now that you are married, that you are struggling is nothing new. It should not be a big deal. You were struggling before. So continue. So
I think that
you are continuing on that journey,
yeah,
you are having your needs and you are growing all round. Whenever you start earning 2 million per month, maybe that time your kids are already in secondary school. That's not when you are starting life. By the time you start earning 2 million per month, let it be that your kids are already in university, not okay. Starting life.
All right, I'm sorry. All right, I think Joy wants to say something before I say what I want to say.
Okay, so I wanted to add that I don't think it is out of place. Take for instance, case in point, as a guy, as a lady, perhaps you're earning like 200,000 naira, and you've got bills to pay. Let's take the guy now. You've got bills to pay, and then you have dreams, or you have a plan or a goal to get married. I don't think it's out of place if you find somebody who is aligned, with your vision. So even when it comes to the issue of money, there has to be an alignment with vision. So as a guy, you could be earning 200K, and you could actually meet a lady, a forward-moving lady, an upwardly mobile lady who thinks, I don't mind, to do life with you because you're earning 200K because I believe in your vision. So what happens is many people tend to want to just run off with that. Do you have the money? You have the money. Can you, can we do life together? Forgetting there has to be an alignment of vision. When visions align, what you earn won't be an issue for me, because when I look at where you're going to and I see where I'm going to in life and I find out that, okay, we're headed the same direction and I know you have prospects and you have visions to grow, then why not?
Right. So I just want us to also look at this from this angle, right? Things do not always go the way we plan. There's only so much you can plan to do. For example, I will spotlight the point that you made about being 50 and doing children runs. Even this morning, I still saw a news on social media that a 48-year-old woman just gave birth to her first child. So things like that happen, right? I'm not saying it's going to be the case for everybody, but if the reason a person wants to get married early is so that you can do the children runs as early as you can once you get married, and then you can rest, it doesn't always go that way. So what do we now say in a situation where things don't go as planned? Okay, fine, you decide to get married because you want to have your children on time, and then you're waiting 5, 6, 7, 8 years and you don't get your children. And I think that this is also one of the things that contributes to the pressure that we're talking about, because you have already planned, and you know in your mind you have decided that okay, before 2 years you have like 3 children, and then 7 years the person is still not pregnant, and you start getting things like the person is not fertile and things like that. So I just want us to also look at that from that angle, that there's only so much we can plan for. Things do not always go as planned. Does anybody want to answer?
Because things do not always go as planned, we should not plan.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying. I'm just saying that
man proposes, God disposes.
So they don't talk about
man proposes. All right. Man proposes, God disposes.
Esther,
you could plan and say, okay, I want this to go my way, and then God says, okay, no, it's not time yet. I have a bigger picture for you. I mean, I have seen virgins who got married. Guy virgin, lady virgin, and I mean, they have lived together, no children. So what do you say about that? They have their lives planned out from the very beginning. So even when you're planning, it has to be contingencies. You have to put in place, what if as I'm planning now to get married at 25, I get married and then God forbid, I don't have a child till I am 48 or 45.
All right, what do you want to say?
Let's look at it this way. I want us to see things.
Esther, we're still coming back to you. You've been quiet. Go ahead.
I want us to see things clearly. I want us to see things clearly. You don't live life on the exceptions. You don't live life on the exceptions. You live life on the general principles, on the generality, and you create room for the exceptions. So if all these exceptions that people are giving to me right now, the excuses people are giving to me, how many percentage of people actually fall into that? How many percentage of people get married today and they have to wait for years to start having kids. What is the percentage? How many people get married today and they have to wait for so long to achieve this? What is the percentage? So you don't use the exception to argue the general rule. You don't use the exception to do the general rule. Let's talk about planning, right? Last week, Friday, we were here. And this week, we all planned, the four of us, we all planned that we are going to repeat it and have the part 2 today. But today, one person is no longer available.
That's the contingency we're talking about.
For that person. But did we say we will not plan towards having 4 people today? Let's go there. This is my device with which I joined to this show. I joined to this show with this device. And while the program was on, I lost my ear while my microphone was still on. That was what caused the problem, the technical issues that made me change earpiece. And the engineer had to say I should remove earpiece and use my phone audio directly, right? I had a plan. When that plan failed, I switched to another option. But I'm not going to tell myself that because people's plans fail, I should not plan.
Right. I get your point. I get your point. And thank you so much for that. All right. Thank you for the very vivid description of your point. Esther, do you have anything to say about this before we wrap up this part?
I absolutely agree with Alright, really, because the truth is this: you need a plan. However, don't be pressured because things aren't working. Like everything about life, you get into a public university in Nigeria, in your mind you say, oh, in the next 4 years I will be done. But then after it's like, you never see me coming. You know what's going on? You're doing like 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
Do you get? But you had a plan. Mm-hmm. So I guess the summary of this is very simple. Have a plan. There is nothing wrong in having a plan. Even in marriage, we still plan our finances. We are still saying, okay, so we are living in a rented apartment. Oh, in the next 2 years, we want to move to this place. In the next 3 years, we plan children. Why do we do family planning? We could have said, oh, just birth them. Let them come anytime they want to come. But no, you plan it. You say, okay, so this is where we are now. I think we should do family planning for the next 1 year. Then by then we can start trying to have a child. So that by this time we can do this. We can, like, everything is about planning. You really can't live life unintentionally. And I also think that this is a challenge of many singles. So they do not plan how to do marriage till they are ready to marry. Do you get? So say they want to marry at age 26, for instance. Up till 26, there is no marital knowledge, no marriage seminar. They are not reading any book. They are not doing any internship anywhere. They are not babysitting for anybody. They are just there living life, making money. When it is now 2 days to wedding, they're like, we are getting married. What are we supposed to do? Then there is a problem. So everything really requires planning and intentional living.
Okay, thank you so much for that. All three of you have answered fantastically well. Now we will be going to another segment or another issue, right? We've talked about the finances to some extent, but before we do that, we have some opinions on Twitter. I mean, the tweets are always talking, and we want to see what people on Twitter have to say about marriage. So I'm just going to read them out quickly, and possibly we'll get 1 or 2 points to discuss. Now, Amanda says, to the marriage seekers, one of the best things that helped prepare me for marriage was perfecting my character. I would always check myself. I am someone's wife, just not yet. Is this the best example of my character that will make my husband proud of me? So basically, she's just saying that before you get married, check your own character. Now, Building Great Marriages says, marriage myth. I am not ready to get married. You cannot prepare yourself for marriage, as once you are married, everything changes. You can, however, commit to be married, which involves a lifelong journey of personal change and learning to love and accept your partner forever. I mean, it's not news that a lot of people think the reason they won't get married yet is because they're not ready to get married. You will never be ready if that's the case. Then Date Night says, no marriage is perfect, even if it appears to be. A perfect marriage isn't even possible. So since a perfection can be attained, let's shoot for the next best thing. A marriage today that is better than our marriage was yesterday. Now that is an achievable goal. I like how motivational that sounds. Now, Fajr says, I think it's because many parents got married with the intention of being married forever. These days, people prepare for marriage like they're preparing for war. They even enter the marriage without trusting each other, full divorce plans and little commitment. And that's another topic that's another part that we'll be looking at. Now, Ma Iliasu says, one biggest threat to early marriage that we don't like to talk about is poverty. Eliminate poverty among youth, and most of our young dudes and damsels will marry their secondary school and university sweethearts. Ignore it and we'll continue on this trend. So I think this is also still tilting towards the issue of having money. Now, another person says, the biggest struggle among youth is relationship. The youth excel in sports, business, music, jobs, education, but we don't know how to be in a steady, successful marriage. We fail miserably when it comes to relationship. Well, I mean, that's left to be answered. Now, this other person repeated it and says, no marriage is perfect. Those celebrating 20, 30, or 40 years of marriage are actually celebrating forgiveness, tolerance, and moving past big mistakes that were made. Ooh, that just gave me goosebumps. Money doesn't determine a better marriage, but character and loyalty does. And I think this also still, applies to relationship. That's another thing that people do not put into consideration. They're all in for the money. And these days, let's not lie, they're all in because social media influenced them to get into a relationship with someone that'll be getting them 2 million naira bags and taking them on trips of 20 million naira, eating sushi on a boat, in a yacht, and things like that. So we don't exactly consider the part of actually being in a relationship. We just consider spending, going out, but we don't take into consideration the part. It's just like planning your wedding, and then once the wedding is over, you now realize, oh wait, I'm married. I'm in the marriage now. It's no longer a wedding ceremony. So I mean, those are the opinions of people. If there's anything from those opinions you want us to discuss, please feel free. But for the meantime, I would like for us to go back to the topic that became heated last week that we ended with, and that's the question that I asked about the trust issue. Now, I think Joy is the only person who wasn't there last week. I don't know if you're familiar with the Ashraf Hakimi's story, Moroccan footballer whose wife asked for a divorce and eventually found out that he doesn't have anything to his name. He signed everything in his mother's name, and we're now trying to discuss it. Is it good to get married to someone you don't trust, or is it good that you trust the person, but you're in the marriage and you're refusing to let your guards down? So I'm going to start with you, Joy. I mean, of course, you weren't here last week, so we want to get your opinion before, hopefully not, but before we continue the heated argument.
Okay, so trust is a very fundamental ingredient in every marriage, every relationship. It's very important. The very moment you decide to say, okay, I love this person and I want us to take things, some notches higher, it's only natural for you to be sure that, okay, I trust this person. And then many times trust doesn't come, when you don't have plans to commit in total. So what happens is we have singles who are falling in love and not making plans to grow past love. It doesn't have to only do with love. Ahead of love, right up there, ahead of love is commitment. So many times, the very moment you decide to fall in love with a person, you haven't committed to the person. Commitment comes over time when you have, fallen in love with the person, and then you have checked yourself and said, okay, this person, I think I want to let my guard down. So coming to what you asked, Blessing, I don't think it is right to decide to do life with a person you aren't trusting inside out. There has to be openness. Both of you have to be naked to be sure that, okay, yes, we are laying it all bare on the table and telling ourselves, this is how I am, this is who I am, this is my capabilities, this is what I can't do, and all of that. In the case of Hakimi's issue, I think, of course, as we all know, trust was a major, factor, or is a major factor with their marriage. And concerning, people really, we read all sorts, on the internet, a whole lot of persons, people who have never read a single marriage book became marriage counselors, saying, don't do this, don't do that, do that. I think in the case of his mother having to be custodian to his stuff, you can't take away the fact that mothers have a bond with their children. Mothers have a bond with their I'm not justifying that when he got married, he did not, begin to change stuff, or he didn't begin to buy, stuff in his wife's name. But let's start from what happened before he got married. So perhaps there was a tradition, there was a tradition based on mother-son bond. I mean, it's not out of place for a mother to see that her son is promising, or her son's future is promising, and then she decides to step in as a manager. Let me help you manage your finances. Let me manage as you begin to buy houses, cars, and all of that. However, where I fault Hakimi is where after he got married, they were not plans to begin to acquire stuff, maybe in their name together as Mr. and Mrs., or, in her name as the case may be.
Okay. All right. Esther, what do you have to say about it very quickly?
Okay. So I have a different perspective to this. And I feel that many people have trauma response when it comes to trust in marriage. For them, trust and marriage are like two parallel lines that cannot meet. And this is because of what they have experienced. So you hear someone tell you, so I am in a session with someone, and then she says something like, my father and my mother, they put funds together, they hustled, they did everything, and daddy remarried, told mommy to get out of the house, and all of that. And then the plot twist is, thank God mommy was saving to build a house secretly. Thank God mommy secretly had XYZ. And what they've learned, what that experience has conditioned that person to think, is that it is good to hide your funds because of the inevitable. It is good to hide your funds because you can't even trust your partner. So for many people, we've gone through life trauma just by watching our parents, just by listening to our neighbors, listening to our friends, watching the TV. And these are they are not the ideal way to do marriage, but these things happen. So when we hear them, we take them as our truth. And that is why you would see that nowadays people get married and they already have it at the back of their minds that they are going to divorce the person. They already have it at the back of their minds that they are going to have a secret account somewhere. They already have a plan B, like there is already an exit plan in place.
Right.
So is that right or wrong? It depends on the circumstance. For me, I teach the principle of exception. And what that means is that there is an ideal scenario and there are exceptions.
Okay.
But what people do is to make an exception the ideal.
Right. Okay, Esther, I'm so sorry. We will not be able to go deep into that. I would have really loved to understand what that means. But because of our time, I'll just want to hear from All Right, and then we wrap up.
So when we are talking about trust, right, I want to see trust as a community problem, not something people are not trusting you because you are their partner. They are not trusting you because they generally don't even trust people. They don't trust the system. They don't trust that they are safe in the marriage institution. They don't trust that they are safe in the community. Everybody out there is trying to break. I see it as a communal value system. I see it as a communal morality issue, things that happen to touch on our ethics and touch on our moral system, right? So the person who is not trusting a woman is obviously not trusting many other ladies and not trusting many other people. So distrust is a habit. Distrust has now become a pattern. There are women out there who have never they have never been in a relationship, but they are already saying you cannot trust a man. Trust me, if you listen to them, they are not only just concerned about romantic relationships, but they are also concerned about general things. You cannot just trust people. They don't even trust their brothers with their money. They don't trust their brothers with some things. And so it is that that's why, if you remember from last time, I tried to see how we should see all these problems as community-based problems and not as individual problems.
Right.
So
yeah.
In your church,
all right. I'm so sorry.
How many people
I'm so sorry.
trustworthy?
But because of our time, they just warned me that we're out of time, and I'm really sorry for that. But thank you so much for thus far. I mean, I really appreciate all your opinions. Thank you. I would like to thank Earl Alright, a marriage therapist and family lawyer. You can tell that he's a lawyer from the way he speaks. I would also like to thank Esther Solarin, marriage and relationship counselor, and also Joy Nwokoro, dating and marriage coach counselor and keynote speaker. Thank you all for this very, very interesting two-part series of marriage and relationship. And to you, the viewers, please let us know what you think on social media. Just tweet at us or comment on our social media handle so we'll know what you think about this particular topic. Well, it's been an amazing 1 hour packed program, and thanks to all our guests for that. Join us again next week as we bring you another episode of Fafanua Africa, where we talk about youth-based problems and possibly prefer solutions. Till then, my name is Blessings Mosogu. Have a lovely day.